This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Everybody Lies, our House MD episode or podcast or whatever. This is where we talk about House. Today, we're talking about, do you know the episode title, Mike?
It is Babies in Bathwater.
That's right. Very good.
Oh wow, we're 18 episodes into this thing, huh?
Yeah, I know. We're getting close to the end of season 1. We only have about 5 more years left to get through the rest of the series.
Sweet.
Real quick though, before we get into the meat of the episode, this episode begins with a husband and wife driving. The wife's driving; she's visibly pregnant, and they get pulled over because she like I don't remember exactly what happened. Like
I think she kind of swerves a little bit.
Yeah, she had a
because they almost get into an accident.
I think she had like an absent seizure or something like that for like a split second, and that's why she thought she lost consciousness for a minute. I know they went into her eye and like her brain, and they did that animation thing where the electrical, currents being siphoned or whatever. So she gets pulled over by this cop, and I could have sworn, in my memory, not while I was watching it, but I was remembering back to the episode, in preparation for doing this. And I was like, hey, wasn't that the same guy that played the marshal that took the bribe in, that episode Mob Rules? And apparently
the husband?
No, the cop, the guy that played the cop. And it turned out it wasn't, because I looked him up. But that guy's name, the guy that played the U.S. Marshal, is named Greg Collins. And I was right to think of him as a cop because he has had a long list of jobs. Small jobs, but jobs nonetheless in the business. He started out on the TV series Webster. He was also on Knots Landing and the A-Team episode of the A-Team early on. But what I want to talk about is, Mike, I'm going to read some of his roles in movies and TV shows that he was in. See if you can find a pattern. Annihilator, and I'll read the movie name and then the role. Annihilator, policeman. Perfect Strangers, security guard. L.A. Law, bailiff. The ones that don't fit the pattern.
So he's like the white Reginald Vell Johnson, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yes. The ones that don't fit the pattern are the most funny to me, though. Hooperman. Remember that show, Hooperman?
No.
It was fucking what's his name? From Three's Company. John Ritter.
Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, John Ritter played Hooperman. Here's what he's credited as: man assaulting Hooperman. Out of Time, cop number 2. Let's see. Police Academy 6, City Under Siege, SWAT team leader. He was on 4 episodes of Falcon Crest. Here are his roles: security guard number 2, guard number 1, security guard, bodyguard. The Brady's, the TV series from 1990. Track security guard.
Track security guard?
Yeah, apparently the security guard for the track. I guess at school. It makes no sense to me. Sibling.
You're blowing up, yo.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's a notification for the elections happening today. Let's see. Sibling rivalry. Hotel security guard. Let's see. He was on some TV series called P.S. I Love You. Okay, P.S.I. like P period S period I period, and then L-U-V, and then the letter U. Here's his character's name: Megan.
What?
Where is this coming from? This is a 1991 television series. Wanda Talbert is a New York con artist. After being caught by the NYPD, she agrees to help them nail a criminal. What they didn't tell her was that she would have to testify against him. Oh, no. Who was in it? It looks like Connie. It is Connie Selica. Connie Selica and Greg Evigan from My Two Dads. Oh my God, I want to see this now. Anyway, he was in an episode of that where he played Megan for some reason. He was in the movie Class Act with Kid and Play. His role in 1992, cop.
See, he's the only one who didn't have a role reversal in Class Act.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Kid, they switched schedules because Kid was very good at academics and Play was good at athletics.
Exactly. Cool World, same year, role cop.
Cartoon cop.
He played cop twice. Let's see.
He probably has a fucking uniform at home by this point, huh?
Seriously. House Guest, 1995, the Sinbad movie with Phil Hartman. His role, cop. Sisters, security guard.
Jeez.
Oh, wait, Hope and Gloria, 1995. His role, stripper. Was he
a cop when he came to the door?
I was going to say, he had to have been a cop stripper, right? Family Matters, one episode, Officer Miller.
Oh, nice. We have to watch that episode. He and Reginald VelJohnson and the roles they were born to play, cops.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll have to watch that one.
I'm not watching it, actually.
Sharon's Secret, a TV movie, First Officer.
Yeah, but if you describe that episode of Family Matters, I've probably seen it already.
I don't know anything about it. Other than Officer Miller was in it. Seinfeld, policeman. Let's see. He was in The Rock. He played Private Gamble. Now here's
what?
Here's
a private at that. How old is he in The Rock?
Seriously. Here's where
now that the kids are out of the house, I signed up for the military.
Here's where he transitions into his military stage of his career. Independence Day, but same year as The Rock, military aid. He goes back to basics and is a security guard in Once You Meet a Stranger, a 1996 TV movie. And he's a guard, in the movie Con Air in 1997.
Oh, nice.
Now, I don't know what this means. This is another one that breaks from the mold. Boy Meets World, 1998. Freezing guy. So he's just like a guy that's cold outside?
Or does a cop yell at him to freeze?
Oh, it could be. Godzilla, 1998. Soldier on Bridge. L.A. Doctors, a TV series from 1999. Prison Guard. Let's see.
I bet he's like an ex-cop or something like that. You know, it seems to be like those kind of people get those kind of roles because he kind of have a look to him.
It could be, for sure. Ready to
Or is a current cop, since he doesn't seem to be in a lot of movies, like once a year, twice a year.
That's actually an interesting point. I wonder if he is an actual police officer. Do you remember the movie Ready to Rumble from 2000?
It's David Arquette, and it's like a wrestling thing, right?
Yeah. His role there, crusty veteran cop.
Wow, he's only a private in the military a year before.
Yeah. Same year, Gone in 60 Seconds, San Pedro cop.
Ooh, ethnic.
Yeah. The District, a year later, Officer Dwayne Reston.
Ooh, he's got a name now.
Now
you can't stop him.
Yeah, exactly. Now this is where he starts getting names. CSI, Officer Arvington. He was on 4 episodes of CSI. But then he goes back. He was in Freaky Links, a TV series.
Remember that? I think Ethan Embry was in that show.
Yeah, you're right. I can see the whatever poster or whatever.
It was like a very early effort to capitalize on the internet.
Cop number 2. Poor guy. Let's see. Officer Griffith from The Bold and the Beautiful. I believe that's a soap opera.
I think you're right.
Let's see. A security guard in Detonator. Let's see. A DA agent in American Reunion.
Oh no, American Reunion, is that the American Pie thing?
I believe so. Yes.
I don't remember. Sadly, I watched that. I just don't remember DEA agent in it.
I don't either. But let's see. House Marshall Brady. So, a kind of a officer, I guess. Maybe House opened some things up because he was in a TV movie, not the TV show, but in a TV movie called Supernatural in 2005, where he played CIA agent Di Donato.
Huh.
But this is the key thing to this, I think. So let me find it because it's up here. It's pretty recent. 2019. He played Colonel Davis. So he's risen all the way to a colonel in the Army now. In this, Taco Bell, nacho fries, retrieval, which is a video short from 2019. It's not a it doesn't say commercial. It's a video short from 2019, apparently about Taco Bell's nacho fries.
Huh. Sadly, he's going to be the person updating his IMDb page.
Oh, yeah. When Taco Bell's nacho fries vanish, one man must go further than any man has gone before to bring them back. I wonder if he's the man.
I don't know, but I imagine if you ate nacho fries, you probably would have diarrhea the next day. Like, just for fun, go on Twitter and search Taco Bell diarrhea. All sorts of hilarity pops up doing that.
His most recent role was in 2019 in a TV miniseries called Too Old to Die Young. And he played Detective Gomez.
Wow. Gomez, huh?
Yeah. Interesting because he's definitely got that look. I see why he's been typecast in this way because he looks like a cop or some kind of agent,
authoritarian type figure.
Yeah, but he does not look in any way like a Gomez. Oh, hey, apparently
he just walked in the room and he arrested me.
Well, I mean, I guess he could have. Here's his biography. Collins played linebacker and guard at Brother Rice High School in Bloomfield Township, Michigan.
Oh, no, that's funny.
He was a Football Writers Association first team All-American, second team Associated Press at Notre Dame in 1974. Hell, he was the leading tackler on Notre Dame's national championship team in 1973, garnering 18 solo stops in a showdown victory over the defending national champions, Southern California.
Wow, that's crazy to think of either of those teams in a meaningful bowl game.
Right. Let's see. He had 16 tackles in a Sugar Bowl victory versus Alabama that secured the national title for Notre Dame. Collins was taken in the second round of the 1975 NFL draft by the 49ers, the 35th overall selection. He later played for the Seattle Seahawks in 1976 and for the Buffalo Bills in 1977. Apparently, not much came from his football career. And unfortunately for him, he played during a time period where, they didn't make great money.
Wasn't an Alabama team the one that Forrest Gump was doing kickoff returns for?
That's true. He must have tackled Forrest Gump at least a couple times.
No, actually, I think Forrest Gump, unfortunately, would be way before that because Vietnam, and all that.
Yeah, I think he went to school in, let's see, I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, Wallace was there to desegregate the schools or try to stop the desegregation of the schools when he was there. So that must have been the early 60s. Kennedy,
like 62, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
Could you make Forrest Gump nowadays, or like this innocent, let's be honest, vaguely retarded person, makes light of horrible situations in history?
I don't think so. I don't think.
No, my mom chased him off the broom. Those raccoons. It's like, no, actually, it was a racial slur, Forrest.
Yeah, I don't think you could. I don't think you could do that anymore.
And I think technically, Forrest Gump is legally retarded because he does have an IQ of 72. I believe they say.
I think it's just 70.
See, I think he's a point or two off from whatever the minimum to go to the school is. So I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's 75 is the minimum because I think up to 70 is clinically, not even just being a dick to say the word. I think that's clinical, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Did you know they have Forrest Gump jerseys at the at Lids, the baseball hat store?
Jesus, really?
Yeah, it's like an Alabama jersey. This is Gump on the back, which is kind of funny because Alabama doesn't have names on their jersey.
Right. Yeah. Because colleges Well, yeah, Alabama doesn't have names at all on their jersey.
They
And
want to fully exploit the athletes.
right. And if you even schools that do when they sell their jersey. Actually, are there any schools that do? I don't think there might not be.
With a name, I imagine they don't.
But when you sell them, obviously they can't have the name. It can only be the number.
Right. Yeah, the number 2 Michigan jersey is obviously a Charles Woodson jersey, but they would have to give him some kind of money for that, so they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Then they wouldn't be able to hoard all the money for themselves while charging exorbitant rates to go to their school.
Basically, college football programs are concussion factories where they just make money off them, then spend more money discreetly to get the best players, and then have them get concussed.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, they don't pay the players.
Oh man. So anyway, so yeah, that was the episode of House. No, so pregnant woman
Driving.
She swerves, then she collapses. Obviously, she gets to house. I don't think there's any explanation as to why.
He thinks she's driving the husband because he's been drinking, and the cop thinks she's drunk for some reason, but then she just kind of like collapses.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how stupid they make this cop. Like cops are trained in first aid and shit, so like the first thing he would think would be like a quick aside. My wife, with her first child, she's a diabetic, and she had to be on sliding scale insulin when she was pregnant because being pregnant can throw, even if you're not diabetic, can throw your blood sugar way off. So she took some insulin, and this is what she did every day. She would take some insulin, then she'd get some breakfast on the way to work at McDonald's, and eat the breakfast, and that would, she'd be fine. Well, on this day, for some reason, it was taking a lot longer than usual. So, she got her stuff, and then she just kind of sat it next to her and forgot to eat it because she was already starting to go into like insulin shock, and she only got like a couple blocks down, but like she's driving and everything, and she's all like disorientated, and she ends up getting pulled over by a cop who's like, he comes over and he's like, hey,
she's like, wait, don't I recognize you from such films as Independence Day?
He does live here, so but she was like, he goes, hey, you okay? Have you had anything to drink today? And she's like, no. And then like a second later, like he sees she's pregnant and everything, and she's like talking, but she's not making a lot of sense. And he goes, hey, are you diabetic? And she goes, why, yes, I am. How did you know that? And he's like, yeah, she got some orange juice, and he's like, you need to drink this. And then, he called in, some medical people and everything, and she got glucose and she was fine. But like, he knew what to do, and he knew the questions to ask because they're trained for this.
Nice.
But anyway, so yeah, I thought that was kind of dumb. But she gets the house, and they're not sure exactly what's going on with her.
Yeah, she tells him that she's had several miscarriages before this, and she's very fearful for the baby's life. Her kidneys and the liver functions off a bit. This next scene, did you believe this for a second that this was actually happening?
Which one? I'm trying to remember what comes next.
Where like House is like giving a Vogler a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer.
Oh yes.
Yeah. No, that's so out of character. It's like there's no way this is real.
It breaks down. I don't know if it's supposed to be real or I mean, I don't know if for any instance we're supposed to think it's real. I'm trying to remember back when I first watched this. I might have for a split second. But once he said stage 4 cancer, I would have been like, yeah, that's not how they're going to resolve this,
Yeah, it's kind of nice because, the show's not like that poorly organized. Like, let's just kill him off with this. But I mean, it's like, it's weird because is that like House's version of a good dream where somebody knows has like incurable like disease?
Right. So
in theory, at least. I think he said his drug would cure it.
Yeah, he's like, well, you got stage 4 cancer, and like, he's like, oh, with these trials, and everything, and Vogler's like, oh, you've been so kind to me, Dr. House. When I think about how I treated you, I feel so ashamed and everything. And of course, at that point, it can't be real.
So I think maybe House is just so arrogant to think that he could just cure the stage 4 cancer. Like he doesn't necessarily like hope this on him. He's like, I'd be able to cure it, and that'd be worth him logging these.
Right. So he says, this is kind of a funny line too. He's like, I think you'll be okay, but just in case, I ordered a extra jumbo-sized coffin.
Yeah. That was pretty good too.
And then Chi McBride says, "Hey," and then it's Foreman's voice because he's waking up House and basically telling him, what's going on with the case. House is hiding out in the clinic because he doesn't want to see Vogler since he publicly trashed his drug in the last episode. And obviously Vogler's going to be on the warpath. And for those of you that don't remember, Cameron decided to leave in the previous episode, so she's not in this episode at all.
And then how after he gets a little bit of information, Foreman tells about the case. Says she has normal blood pressure, but she has no coordination. Mm-hmm. House is like, it's an autoimmune disease. He goes, oh, by the way, Cameron quit.
Yeah, exactly. And Foreman's like, she didn't quit. You had to fire her because you couldn't give a fucking speech. And so I think does she choke before this or after this?
After this,
okay.
Like Chase and Foreman go to visit her, and then she starts choking on like a very soft piece of hair.
Oh yeah.
And like after they get her together, she goes, "I can't swallow," and her husband goes, "God damn it!" And he just storms.
I thought the same thing when she said that. But yeah, this is a great moment too because they're riding up in the elevator. Foreman says to Chase, "Here, pussy, pussy, pussy." And he's basically saying like, you didn't say anything to House, like you didn't stand up to House at all. You're a fucking, weakling. And they start arguing back and forth to each other, and then they walk into the room. Is like, "Hi, I brought my my colleague here."
Yeah. It's like Orgasmo, where
Yeah.
he's like guards, more guards, and he's like beat that. He's like, well, hello.
Exactly.
It's like that kind of transition.
Yeah. So and she starts choking. So they tell House about that, and House says, what did she choke on? And he's like, she's choking on like wet cooked pear. Then
it cuts to Norma Downey. Goes, a man goes to the hospital with his wife who's in a coma.
Doc, she's choking.
I like how you can tell when he tells it on Conan. Like Conan immediately knows the joke he's telling, but he's like a deer in the headlights. He knows it's gonna be hilarious still, but he's like, there's no comedic surprise for me.
It's so awesome. But anyway, so he says, hey, that's way more than some difficulty swallowing. There's got to be some swelling there because it's not normal. And he said, check her eyes too. So they go and they check.
And they think they see she has vasculitis, which I don't know what that is.
It's an inflammation of the veins and the arteries.
That's right. Yeah, and then she starts to go to premature labor. Actually, I think.
Yeah, I think I want to say she's 26 weeks or 27 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, she's 10 weeks shy of where you should be, I think. Mm-hmm. Which this always annoys me. People always say you're 9 months. In 9 months, you'll have a baby. It's 40 weeks. That's easily 10 months.
Yeah,
it's just 10 months.
Yeah, it is. I don't.
And you know how much easier it would be? I'm a quarter of the way there. I'm halfway there. You don't have to let's see. I have to divide by 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why they say 9 months because my wife points that out all the time too. That it's really technically 10 months.
Yeah, then 9 months, you have all these poor women oh my god, the baby's due any day now.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, but yeah, so it turns out she's got vasculitis and everything, and they need to do an X-ray. They bring Wilson in, and they say they need to do an X-ray because they stopped the labor. And she says, isn't that bad for the baby? And he goes, this is important because they've seen these different signs. So they do the X-ray on her chest and they discover that she has cancer lung cancer, pretty advanced small cell lung cancer.
Yeah, small cell, which is like the more aggressive, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, of the types of cancers. I mean, obviously, no lung cancer is good, but that's like even worse.
Yeah, small cell
And
is large oat cell cancer. I mean, all lung cancers are pretty bad, but large oat cell cancer moves a lot slower than small cell cancer does.
and before this, like when they see that the doctor notices her eyes drooping,
Mhm.
and he goes, "Oh, does your wife's eye always droop like that?"
Right?
It just seems like a really kind of awkward question.
Seriously.
Because one thing what if it did, but the guy didn't notice? But I feel that if you were married to a droopy-eyed bitch, you'd know it.
Who couldn't swallow?
Yeah,
So basically,
or bear children.
Wilson basically explains to him that because he's like, oh, but she had a seizure or whatever, and he says, they use this, they'll use this more often than just this episode because it's kind of an easy cheat. Although honestly, the medical mystery is not really the point of this episode. But he says that at times when people have cancer, they can develop what's called paraneoplastic syndrome, which basically is your immune system is trying to fight against the cancer, but your immune system, this is one of the terrible things about cancer, your immune system really can't tell the difference between cancer cells and healthy cells, so it starts to just attack any cells, and it can attack cells in the brain, and that causes paraneoplastic syndromes. And he said that the droopy eye told them where the cancer was because apparently lung cancer produces the like a specific set of paraneoplastic problems. And I can't remember what he said, but he said it's something sign, some doctor's name sign, that droopy eye thing. So they, it's metastasized. They can't do surgery. They need to do chemo and radiation. And she says, but isn't that I can't do that with the baby, right? And he said, we'll need to schedule a C-section. You'll need to, have the baby before you can do this.
Yeah, and they put the baby survival odds at 80%, which obviously you'd rather be 100%, but I mean, it's not terrible.
No, 20, and I think it's 27 weeks at this point. 27 weeks is pretty viable. I mean, 80% might even be a little bit low. Obviously, you'd rather be in the 30s as far as weeks go, but it's
Sure.
it's not terrible. And we find out why basically she's so hesitant to do this, but she says that she would rather she'd rather carry for a few extra weeks.
No, I think she says one more week, the baby's chances will be 90%, but
Yeah.
the cancer's so aggressive that even that would, make it harder to treat and lower her odds.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, even with chemo and radiation, her odds aren't great. She, I think he says the 5-year survival rate is something like I don't know, like 20% or something like that. It's pretty low.
Jeez.
So she wants to hold off, in order to do it, and the husband obviously doesn't want her to do that. Then we let's see. I'm trying to think what else happened.
Actually, I think we need to go to the other thing before we go to the rest of this because, all right. So, and Vogler eventually finds House, and he basically is just like throwing the riot act at him. He's just like just dumping all over him. He basically tells him that
he tells him he wants him to resign. He wants his resignation on his desk by the morning, or he will destroy him professionally.
Yeah, and then he said, he points out that you need a unanimous decision from the board to fire him. But I mean, Vogler, he's got more people than House is comfortable with, and he can make it very uncomfortable for him. And what he does in order to do that is he goes ahead and he gets rid of Wilson.
Yeah, I like Wilson's Wilson and House have a conversation before the board meeting, and
Vogler at the meeting says he'll take his $100 million donation away if he doesn't get fired. House.
Yeah, exactly. So, they move James out of the meeting. They get rid of him. just from the board, not from the hospital. But Wilson points out that obviously this looks horrible on his resume, and he was given the option to resign, which would look better because it would look like he purposely, decided to leave. So he took it. And so, yeah, it's not good. That was the one person that was voting to keep House. So the next, you have to have 24 hours. As Wilson reminds us, you need 24 hours to reconsider a motion. So he's like, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow you'll be gone too, and everything. So they have another meeting, and well, I guess we can go back to the another meeting's planned. That's what's coming up. I guess we should probably talk about the clinic patient too, because that's sort of important to the storyline here.
Sure, go ahead.
This couple comes in with their baby, Olive Kaplan, and the baby has gone from the 25th percentile to the 3rd percentile in weight in, I think, a month, he says, or something like that. And he says, babies aren't supposed to shrink. And they talk about how they had the baby on a vegan diet, like Whole Foods and all this stuff. And House points out that babies need fats and proteins and things like that to grow. So the CPS gets called on them, or whatever New Jersey's equivalent of that is, child protection or child services or whatever it is over there. And they, the social worker's very aggressive. Is like, we're taking we're taking your baby away from you because you're being charged with trying to starve your baby. And so they come back and they say to House, my uncle is a nutritionist, he went to college and everything, she says, and he's the one that advised us on this diet and had all the stuff that a baby's supposed to need. And, he's like, okay, so he orders a test done on her to determine, as a hunch of what could cause her to lose this kind of weight, as opposed to the diet. And the test results come back, and I'm trying to remember exactly what, like hypothalamus or something like that, I think.
Something with a thymus gland. I don't remember if it was hypothalamus or what.
But anyway, so that's what it turns out it is. With the mother, they're going to try to get her into this trial. House wants to increase her odds. So there's a trial going on in the hospital for exactly the type of cancer she has. She's pregnant, which would exclude her from the trial because she'd have to have a C-section, which is major surgery, and you can't have major surgery right before you're taking place in a clinical trial. It skews the results and everything, but they lie about it basically. And then Vogler finds out about it. She's about to have the C-section so that she can go into this clinical trial. Vogler stops the C-section, and then him and House have this shouting match, which I really like this argument scene because you can so easily see both sides. House comes on, and he's like, you're killing. Basically, he screams across the hospital, "You're killing her!" And then they, they meet in the middle of the hallway, and they have this argument. And he says, it's her body, it's her choice, or whatever, to have this trial. And Vogler points out, he's like, it's this guy's study. This guy's doing this study. He has a right to be informed about the patients. And, House is like, he says, it could skew the odds and everything. And House is like, oh, one little blip. And Vogler points out, which is true, he goes, have you ever heard of the FDA? They eat blips for breakfast. This could absolutely, he's like, you could have put this entire study in jeopardy, which, if it works, could remove a life-saving protocol that could cure and save hundreds or thousands of people's lives, for this one patient. It's Vogler's looking at, the long run, and House is looking at his individual patients, basically. And it's a really interesting argument, like I said, that where you can see both sides of why they want to do what they're doing. And so then, obviously she can't get the thing, the clinical trial. She starts to, I think she starts bleeding into her abdomen. And there's basically nothing they can do. They need to go in and repair. They need to do a C-section to do it. And if they do that, she's probably going to die. So they come to the husband with the horrible decision of, hey, this is what's going to happen. If we give her the C-section, your baby has a good chance of living. She's probably going to die. If you don't do the C-section, they're both probably going to die. But I guess there's more of a chance that she would live. So he ends up getting the consent from the husband. They do the C-section. She dies, but the baby lives. Also, I forgot to mention before, this house has a conversation with her and points out that she's talking about when she was talking to her husband when she was talking about not wanting to have the C-section, and she said, "You don't know what it would be like to have a sick baby." And House points out, he's like, You told your husband you don't know what it's like to have a sick baby. You never said you didn't know what it would be like. And he's like, this isn't your first baby. And she says she was married before, had another baby. She never told her husband about it. I guess the baby got Alexander's disease or something like that.
I'm not sure what it does, but it sounded bad.
Yeah, and her daughter died, and she divorced her husband because he was a reminder of this daughter like every day. So, sad story, but she didn't want to go through that again. And so she, that's why she was so passionate about this. But she does end up dying, and then the baby lives. The husband's, crying and everything, of course, but holding his baby. So, maybe there's hope, for his future a little bit. Like I said, Cuddy finds out that that he was right about the thalamus thing for this other kid, and she's like, I'll call CPS and tell him to drop all the charges and everything. And he says, he tells her basically what the treatment is, like, do this and do that. And she says, you're not going to follow up on the case. And he says, I assume that I'm not going to be here. So then this is the conclusion. They have the board meeting. They do the vote, and Cuddy decides not to vote to remove House. Vogler's like, Vogler's basically like, come on, what changed from yesterday to today? And she said, he saved, another life or what, she talks about the kid, and he's like, so he saved another life. He's like, and she said, probably. And he's like, that's what we do. This is a hospital. Saving lives is what we do. It's what he does. It's what he's great at. And, Vogler reiterates his belief that healthcare should be run like a business, and that's the way he wants to run it, everything. And then, he says, well, then you're going to have to leave the room, Cuddy. And she says to the people, she's like, if you... Basically, she gives this speech about, how, okay, you can remove me, you can remove Wilson, who's going to be next that stands up to Vogler and everything to get removed. She says, if this $100 million is worth that much to you, then he's right, Vogler's right, and he owns you. And she's like, so, good luck with your decision. Might be the last real decision you have around here. And then she leaves, and then they celebrate because he lost. There were a number of doctors that voted against removing Dr. Cuddy from the board.
How do you think it makes Wilson feel?
Yeah, no shit.
Nobody likes me.
So Vogler took his $100 million and left. That's the end of Edward Vogler and his reign over this season. But But yeah, that's basically how the episode ends. What did you think of this one? This one's a little different in the fact that the medical mystery gets solved about halfway through or so. Like I said, it's not so much about the medical mystery; it's more about the moral questions, surrounding, her and what she wants to do as far as her treatment goes, and then obviously the Vogler stuff.
Yeah, I liked the brief period of Vogler on there. I'm glad it wasn't on a lot longer because it probably would have got tiresome. Oh, I voted you out. No, I didn't. Oh, I did. No, I didn't.
Right.
I assume Cameron will be coming back after this, which is fine. I mean, she's gone this one episode. Like, I don't know, maybe she had a vacation week planned or something.
Right.
What if I always wonder, people get paid so much per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just averaged out over the entire season, or is it like every episode they appear in? Because sometimes someone will be in like an episode of a TV show for like one scene. Do they get the full paycheck?
I believe it's per episode, like per episode that you actually appear in. So if you're not in an episode that week, you don't get paid. And I do believe that if you're in even one episode or one scene, I believe it's generally the same rate of pay. I know so it depends, I guess, if you're like a series regular. I think if you're a series regular, then your contract basically stipulates that it doesn't matter how much you work, you get whatever, your salary is. For like not extras, but like background players and like bit players and stuff like that, they might go by SAG minimums because there's minimum wage, but it's based on hours. It's based on hours worked, and they stipulate what counts as like if you're doing one scene, then like the rehearsal and table read time and stuff like that all gets kind of taken into account as far as what you make. But there's SAG minimums for hourly.
Fair enough. Oh, have you tried to get a hold of that lady who did the Pennies from Heaven movie yet?
I sent her one thing on Twitter today, and I'm going to follow up with some more Twitter messages tonight.
Very good.
Yeah, I'd like to get her on the main show. That's my big goal right now.
Yeah, that'd be something.
God, that movie, I'm telling you.
That's a fucking movie right there.
But that is the episode for the week. Next week, I don't know what episode it is, but I'm sure it'll be a good one because season 1 is generally pretty good. But anyway, until next time, we will talk to you later. Bye.
See you next time.